I'm ODST, I guess. Whatever. Who fucking cares? You don't care about me. What you care about is Super Mario Brothers 3, brick by brick. The levels, the enemies, the history, the greatest game ever made, a novel by Bob Chipman. You don't really care about this either, though. You just wanna, you just wanna see how fucking bad it is. And it's pretty fucking bad. And that's why I'm going to be the person to take you through it. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read it chapter by chapter because I'm not going to read this whole 200-page fucking book all at once. I'm also going to take an awful lot of time to make fun of Bob Chipman for this. If you don't know who Bob Chipman is, he is a contributor to The Escapist. He is known as Movie Bob there, and he reviews movies. He does it poorly. He's very pretentious. He also talks about video games, I think. I haven't really watched his video game stuff. It's probably not very good, though. I will say, I will apologize. My nose is all stuffed up. Part of why I'm doing this is to try and get used to talking sort of to no one, because I want to get into podcasting and hopefully you enjoy this enough in my future. Probably with the dedication, saving my life than he knows. I'm not. There's also Catherine Chipman, Angeline Chipman, and I'm assuming parents, and the other is grandparents. I don't know who Evangeline is, an aunt maybe. Point being, he put Shigeru Miyamoto above his family. I'm just scrolling down to the actual it starts. Page 9, because there's about 3 blank pages. He just wrote, like, put it out as a book, but no. Oh, it's a fucking page. Alright, 200 pages isn't really much of a tome. Hold on here. I have an actual book, like a good book, right in front of me. I have The Lost World, the second Jurassic Park book. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of Jurassic Park 2, which is, no, that's about 430 pages, and it's a real small version of it. So that wasn't a great example. But, you know, books can be too, and like have artistic merit and be good and quality and stuff like that, which is one most certainly is. So let's begin with the introduction. Why write a book about Super Mario Brothers 3? Very first line. I'm going to assume somebody is asking that question. I am, and I'm the one writing the damn thing. See, that's when you know you're dealing with a true comedian, a true artiste, is that he's self-aware. He's a little goofy, he's a little funny, but he knows about it. He gets it. He's in on the joke. That's when you're dealing with a professional. A book more generally about Mario, the character, would seem to make more sense. He's an icon, the icon of the video game industry, and of the medium itself. A character as entrenched in the minds of generations X and beyond as Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny. Video games were the rock and roll of my generation. An art form that came into being and grew in tandem with our own lives, embraced by us to the confusion and exasperation of our parents. And though he wasn't the first icon of the form, Mario was figured at the forefront, our Elvis, or if you prefer, our Beatles. Which he's got gas. The metaphor, other siblings. Much about music. I don't really know who Chuck Berry is. I mean, I vaguely know who Chuck Berry is. Does Chuck Berry predate Elvis? Because I feel like he would imply he can look it up right. Give me, yeah. Right. That, I guess that analogy works out. My bad. Bob. I don't. I don't have to. In any case, if this were to be a book of history or of pop iconography, surely it would be more comprehensive and sensible to cover the full breadth of Mario's career. At the time of this writing, Mario has appeared in 90, covering almost every conceivable gaming genre. 2 feature films, and one animated series, multiple comic books, and nearly every form of merchandising imaginable. The story of the characters imminently of his iconic classic creator Shigeru Miyamoto burns through a changing landscape and sweeping cultural shifts. Would these not be to build a book around? One quick say that I'm not going to sit here and say Mario like an icon for video games or one of the most recognizable pop culture figures, if not now in history. But like not as impressive as 190 games is, but like, come on, like half the cast of Street Fighter have been in like multiple movies, comics, and TV shows. That's not as cool, I would say. Or I mean, that's not as impressive as it sounds. And even if one did wish to focus on only the games, why limit the scope to only one out of that 190? Especially when there are other games in the series of greater historical significance. Super Mario Bros. 3 isn't Mario's first appearance. No shit, it's Super Mario Bros. 3. You don't have to like explain that. Like, oh, Final Fantasy 7 isn't the first Final Fantasy game. Yeah, I get it. There's a 7 in it. There's a 3 in Super Mario Bros. 3. Like, you might have like Super Mario Bros. 3 actually is the first appearance of Mario because there's 4. You would have to say like no D3 or D2 or D1. It's all just it's D4. It's just the name of it. Like that you would have to explain maybe. But like Super Mario Bros. 3, it's self-explanatory. Uh, uh, or the game that made him a household name the previously dead home gaming industry. The original Super Mario Brothers was that game, or the birthplace of functional open world 3D platforming, Super Mario 64, or any of the franchise's myriad other big impact moments. 2 things. First off, I want to say Super Mario 64 probably isn't the first 3D platformer. I know it's not the first 3D platformer. It's probably not the first functional one. It was one of the biggest, say, like game or not an important game, but they were, let's say, did. I don't have a ton of experience, but it's 3D and it has a huge emphasis on movement. That much I know. So it's not a platformer, but you can kind of see where I'm coming from, maybe. Also, big impact moments. It should be myriad of um, like a big grammar dude. I'll give him a ton of shit for it. I mean, he's writing a book, so he should keep his grammar together. But I'm not gonna freak out when he doesn't put commas down. But like that completely breaks the sentence, guy. Come on. It's merely the 3rd game in the Nintendo Entertainment System era of the franchise. Where's the import? Where's the story? What's the big deal? I don't know what he means by where's the import. Because I think he's supposed to say, why is this important? But why wouldn't he, like, why is this one more significant? But why wouldn't he just write that? Why would he only write import? He does that? Because import is a totally different word than importance. Whatever. I might, not to say that Bob Chipman is a shitty writer, but I think he might be a shitty writer. All right, just wanted to make sure I was broadcasting still. Whatever. To gather myself after receiving barrage of queries all at once, I might offer that this book isn't precisely a book of history, primarism, which of course was Super Mario Brothers 3. Then it's not exactly. It's one of the best-selling. I don't know about that. as an acceptable class 10 status, revealed the game as over. Freakingly flawed series. Well, fuck you. What, if anything, are you looking to tell us here? Why should we be reading this when there are so many tomes of self-help, political fire-breathing, and 12-volume epics of glimmering bow huntresses attending a wizard school, just a bookshelf across the touchpad, as it were, away? That's a really shitty sentence. That's a really, really awful sentence. I mean, it's a bad sentence, and then he adds in that joke at the end, and it kind of breaks it real badly. Um, Again, though, not to imply Bob Chipman might be a bad writer. To be honest, even I didn't start out with the intent to write a book about Super Mario Bros. 3. The format of this project took shape before the subject came into focus for me. You see, at least to my knowledge, at the time of this writing, there isn't another book exactly like this one. I'm gonna fucking look it up. Give me a second. Video game books. Books. I wrote books with 3 O's. So here's some Halo books. Those aren't really the same. The Halo books are like expanded universe. The Hyrule Historia is just sort of like a little, kind of a documentary, I guess. It's kind of like an encyclopedia of Zelda stuff. Extra Lives, Why Video Games Matter. Game Over, The Maturing of Mario by David Sheriff, 1993. That might be it. Diablo 3, Book of Cain, God of War, which came out in 2010, which seems like way longer, way after developers should have known better, or better than to put out a God of War book. 1001 Video Games You Must Play, Masters of Doom is not it's not in the same vein of this, but it is a book about the development of Doom, which is kind of the same, I guess. There's a Command and Conquer book, The Ultimate Guide to Video Game Writing and Design, blah blah blah, Resident Evil, Power Up, How Japanese Video Games Gave the World an Extra Life, which, not really the same, but whatever. The Halo graphic novel, Game Design Workshop, The Art of Computer, Everything Bad is Good for You, Game Design Theory and Practice, blah, 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 blah. This Game Over How Nintendo Conquered the World might be the same book, but with a bigger scope. I mean, I guess if he's saying, like, there's not, like, one single book of a critic criticizing a single game so intensely. Not really. Um, but I don't think that's saw that and was like, I'm not good enough for that. I don't think it's like an unfilled niche. I think it's just most people assumed it just would not sell, or it just, they didn't have enough content. Excuse me. Like I said, my nose is plugged up, so sorry. Where the fuck was I? It's hard here. Video game criticism has a medium itself. Said medium having come into being the era of spins like lifestyle magazine, reached adolescence in the age of the internet, times where the form has always had an erratic evolution. First game happened to be both art critics, feeling or does this game elicit testers? Does this device work? Here's my question. Read this real quick. First game reviewers found themselves in the unique position of having a new. Okay, so he's saying, like, when video games as a medium came to prominence, reviewers have technically think that's true. For like, and that kind of like text, like Nintendo stuff, Atari stuff, it was just like doesn't. Is it fun? Now you kind of have to be more of an art critic because video games have become incredibly pretentious. I think Mega 64 said it best when they said not every game has to be an AMC show. Specifically, not every game has to be The Walking Dead. So that's kind of true now, but I don't really think it applied back then. Oh God! I hope you heard me blow my nose there because it's a sound to be heard when I blow my nose, like an elephant. The rapidly expanding technology of the medium and scope of the consumer base created fissures and divisions as different groups of gamers demanded different approaches from critics. Aesthetic critique, technical details. Does it have a good story? Forget the story. How does it play? Give me detailed analysis. Give me a numbered score. The internet age turned game criticism, journalism fields with even more diversity. Detailed write-ups, cultural commentary, quick aside, very telling to what websites Bob Chipman chose to reference here. The Escapist, Polygon, Destructoid. Remember that. His own site, Social Justice Warrior, the site, and the site that gave us Anthony Birch and Jim Sterling. Video reviews, often but not always comedic in nature, became the rage with the dawn of high-speed streaming, making unlikely superstars of folks like Ben Yahtzee Croshaw of Zero Punctuation and James Rolfe, aka the Angry Video Game Nerd. I want to say real quick here, like, try to name one notable video game review that's not trying to be funny. I really want you to try to find it for me because I don't think you'd be able to. It's very rare. And also, I feel like Yahtzee and James Rolfe kind of predated high-speed streaming. Or like when you say streaming now, I assume you're talking about someone like streaming live to an audience, as opposed to them who just like they put up videos and then garnered reception that way. I mean, they're notable figures. I get what he's trying to say. I just feel like the terminology he uses is kind of poor. James' focus on older and more obscure titles was part of giving people attention to claims. That's just because when you're starting out, or like when you find your footing, a lot of these people were so they looked at what they already had, so they wouldn't have to like buy new stuff. And games were way simpler, like 20 years ago in the NES era. And you kind of already knew, like, oh, so I can talk to people who already know what this game is. And then I have like a bigger consumer base. And also at the time, the idea was like, oh, I'm not talking about modern stuff. I'm taking a look back at history. So in like 2006, 2007, I think it's largely because they didn't have anything else to do. And that was kind of like a newer thing. I don't really think anyone was trying to like give serious critical attention to like older games. I mean, come on. Fucking the AVGN swears a bunch. He doesn't really give much criticism. Today, sites ranging from professional outlets to amateur free-for-alls like YouTube and Blip are packed to the gills with an ever-growing supply of Let's Plays. No one reading this book doesn't know. You don't really have to like name any game that, no matter how you can use videos of it. I have tried to question this before. There are like a handful of times I thought to myself, like, I should see if anyone has done that yet, and like just try to find that someone hasn't. And usually, I can't do it. It's pretty impressive, the amount of detail they go to. But it's sort of the same thing. Like, you just kind of want an in. So like, if you can't think of one, you wouldn't going to watch it. Where was I? And yet, amid all of that, I felt like there was something missing. An empty niche. Maybe not a large niche, but a niche all the same. It's a niche. That's the whole fucking point, that a niche is small by virtue. Or not by virtue, but like it's inherently small. It's what a niche is. In my primary career, I'm a film critic, so I get to see how criticism differs in the two mediums. And while I won't let this turn into some massive submissive. What the fuck? While I won't let this turn into some missive, IMSSIVE, about what game journalism can learn from film, that missive is not a word. Massive is a word. Submissive is a word, but missive by itself, I don't think that's a word, or at least it's not a word you ever use. Again, not to say Bob Chipman is a poor writer, but whatever. The one type of critical attention gaming appears to be the most, though not wholly deficient of, is analysis. In particular, deep analysis. A book like this about like, or you could do something like this about. I'm trying to think of like another good story, like Ultima. You could do something about that for Ultima, or I wouldn't do it, but you could do stuff like this for like Assassin's Creed or Mass Effect or something, because those are complex games. They have themes, they have parallels, they have stuff like that going on. But you can't really do a really deep analysis of Mario Brothers. It's pretty straightforward. I guess you could do like a game design breakdown for like a college thing. That could be kind of cool. But and I guess I've seen stuff like that. Like that's how Ego Raptor kind of made his name. But still, specifically in film writing, there's such a thing as a shot-by-shot analysis, which is exactly what it sounds like. Sorry. It's a pile of styrofoam in front of me, and for some reason I looked at it and I thought of like breaking styrofoam and that squeak that styrofoam makes, and it's got to be like really on edge for some reason. Excuse me. I mean, that sounds really weird, but I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That's kind of why I'm kind of cringing to myself now. Should really get it together. I'm gonna go crazy here. Specifically in film, whatever, a book, or more often an academic paper or presentation that pores over a single film, piece by piece, scene by scene, detail by detail. The lines, the compositions, the shots, the score, and actors, directors, writers, and production history that informed it all. Not just an aesthetic criticism or a history or a production report, but a fusion of all three and more. The complete picture of a film. Why didn't this exist for video games? I don't actually know. That like when he writes it down like that kind of sounds kind of cool, you know. And it kind of makes me feel like it does exist, just not for like a single video game. Because again, like, you know, a movie, everything is so a really good movie, let's say. Like, I guess 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, every shot is framed perfectly, and there's like artistic merit to almost everything, and you can really delve into it. But you can't really do that with a video game, because a lot of it is not random per se, but it's built for you to go over it, you know? It's just sort of, there's not really anything to say about it. Or it's something that would require a whole book at least. The production history, kind of, there was, back when G4 was an actual video game channel, they did have like a documentary series about stuff. And I learned about like how Final Fantasy was Squaresoft's like swan song initially. And it was so big, it kind of saved them from the heap. Stuff like that, that's really cool. But a movie for, or not a movie, but a whole book, come on, yeah, you don't really need that. Again, like the only game I could really think of that you could really do that with is a Metal Gear. But even then, my first thought upon not finding much that lined up with what I was now looking for, especially not available to consumers outside the industry or academia, was that it may have been tried and found impossible. But that didn't make any sense. Games are tangible things, at least as much as digitized information can be. Most of them have beginnings and endings, or at least a point where nothing else can be done within them. Whole books called strategy guides have been written with the purpose of guiding one through a game step by step. Why not go the extra mile and gives a reader the background or an aesthetic observation about whatever level or boss you're helping them to conquer? Because they don't fucking care. That's why. Like, the guide is like, I'm really frustrated because I don't know what to do. I'll buy this guide so I know what to do. And also, don't buy guides. No one buys guides, especially not now. They still make them, so someone's still buying them, so they should really stop. You have the internet, you should look it up. Or don't look it up. You know, if you don't know what to do, that's either a flaw in the game's design or you're an idiot. And if I could find such a book, why not write it myself? Because you're a shitty writer, Bob Chipman. Not to imply you're a shitty writer, but you're a shitty writer. The idea began to take shape. Pick a game. Play through it from beginning to end. Catalog everything you did, even the places where you did something wrong or had to start over. Describe in detail not just the function, but the form. The whys and hows, and who's behind what was happening in the game. But whys and hows, and who's behind what was happening in the game. It's not that complex of a game. Like, fucking Bowser stole Princess Peach, and then I don't even think he sends people after you. I think he just has people all over the continent, and, like, the environment just kind of doesn't like Mario. For good measure, include what was going on for you during the playing. Player input is key to the experience after all, so it's only fair to analyze the background of the player along with the background of the product. Yes, that might work, but which game? It had to be an older game for one. Not so much out of nostalgia or sentiment, because an older game would have its stature already secure. Preferably, it should be a popular game, one that a lot of people would have played or at least know of. Work that has affected the culture in a big, visible way simply offers more to write about. It should have a certain degree of variety. If for no other reason than to keep me consistently engaged so that boredom doesn't inappropriately color my analysis. Even though I wouldn't be primarily playing for fun, I'd have to endeavor to maintain the sense of enjoyment that regular gameplay is supposed to engender. Finally, I felt like it should be a game I was already intimately familiar with. A game I could not just approach, but return to in the writing. Aside from likely making the project that much less difficult, it would be appropriate to the intended tone. Not just some dry academic deconstruction, but an involved, emotive journey. It should be a game I loved, and thus there could be no other choice. End of the introduction. He forgot that it should be a game that actually requires that level of analysis. It's fucking Mario, guy. You walk forward. You jump sometimes. Like, it's not a complex game. It's a good game, but you don't really need all this. Alright, I figure that's about 4 pages. So that seems like a good place to cut off. I guess if you like this stuff, I'll do more of it. I might do more of it just to do more of it. I'm kind of looking ahead to see how long the rest of it is, just to find out the chapters. They don't seem that long. I can kind of blow through these, I guess. I might read them and then reread them here and skip over the boring bits. But, whatever. It's a shitty book. Big surprise, but that's what it is. I hope you liked it, though.